The Great Sibling Swindle. Marriage, Millions, and the Wrath of Madame Agatha. In the sleepy town of Lumaville, Jonas and Sophie lived a simple life, or at least they did, until Jonas, 30, got laid off from his bank job. Now, with bills piling up, Sophie, his 26-year-old stay-at-home wife, and their adorable daughter Lila were about to experience a brand new career path. After staring at an eviction notice one too many times, Jonas had an idea so wild that Sophie nearly threw her coffee at him when he explained it. "I'm going to start robbing rich women," Jonas said, dead serious. Sophie blinked at him. "I'm sorry, did you just say you're going to rob people?" "Not with a ski mask." Jonas grinned. "I'll be charming. I'll woo them. You'll pretend to be my supportive sister, and we'll get them to give us money willingly." Sophie sat there for a long moment, sipping her coffee. "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But is it stupid enough to work?" Jonas shot back. Sophie considered their empty fridge, overdue mortgage, and the fact that her Netflix password had stopped working because they couldn't pay for Wi-Fi. "I'm in." It started off small. Jonas would hit the fanciest bars in Lumaville, targeting the rich, lonely older women. Sophie played the perfect sister, backing up his tragic tales of financial ruin. It wasn't long before the money started rolling in: cash, fancy dinners, even expensive handbags that Sophie would sell online. It was a brilliant plan. A stupid, brilliant plan. They had everything they needed. The sad sob stories, the sympathetic smiles, the endless glasses of wine for their marks. These wealthy women were practically throwing money at them. Life was good. But then came Mr. Gregory. Mr. Gregory was a silver-haired fox of a man with more money than sense and a cane that looked like it was stolen from a treasure chest. He waltzed into the Velvet Lounge one night and instantly fell for Sophie. That's right. While Jonas was busy charming the old ladies, Mr. Gregory only had eyes for the sister. "Jonas," Sophie whispered as Mr. Gregory approached, his cane clicking dramatically with every step, "that man is staring at me." Jonas smirked. "Even better. Let's rob him too." Sophie's eyes widened. "Are you nuts? He's a man. That's not part of the plan." But Jonas, ever the opportunist, saw dollar signs. "Go with it. I bet he's loaded." Sure enough, Mr. Gregory was smitten. He showered Sophie with gifts. Diamond necklaces, luxury trips, a yacht that Jonas had no idea how to operate. Sophie played along, laughing at his terrible jokes and pretending she didn't want to throw herself out a window every time he called her, "my little angel." Then, one night over a fancy dinner where the steak was more expensive than their rent, Mr. Gregory did something nobody expected. He got down on one knee, pulled out a ring the size of a walnut, and said, "Sophie, will you marry me?" Sophie choked on her wine, while Jonas nearly fell out of his chair. Sophie glanced at Jonas, eyes wide in panic, but Jonas just grinned and whispered, "Say yes." "What? Say yes." Sophie, against her better judgment and with her inner voice screaming, "Don't do it," plastered on a fake smile and said, "Yes, Mr. Gregory. I will marry you." The wedding was a Lumaville event of epic proportions. Mr. Gregory spared no expense. Limos, champagne fountains, a cake so big it could have fed the entire town twice. Sophie wore a dress so extravagant it looked like it had been made out of the curtains from a royal palace. Jonas, still playing the doting brother, made sure to keep a straight face as the ceremony went off without a hitch. Mr. Gregory couldn't have been happier. Sophie, on the other hand, was counting down the days to the 6-month mark when she could divorce him and walk away with half of his fortune. The marriage was in community of property, after all. Jonas called it the jackpot. 6 months later, right on schedule, Sophie filed for divorce. The courtroom showdown was dramatic. Sophie put on an Oscar-worthy performance, crying about lost love, and how the spark had faded. Mr. Gregory, clueless and heartbroken, tried to object, but the judge awarded Sophie half of everything. Half of his mansion, half of his cars, and, best of all, half of that ridiculous diamond cane. Jonas and Sophie were living the high life again. They'd pulled off the greatest scam in Lumaville history. Or so they thought. One quiet evening, while Jonas and Sophie were sipping champagne in their new mansion, the phone rang. It was Madame Agatha, one of the rich widows Jonas had scammed months ago. I know what you two did, she said, her voice dripping with menace. Jonas nearly dropped his glass. Who is this? Oh, don't play dumb, Jonas, Madam Agatha hissed. I've been watching. You're not siblings. I know everything. Jonas tried to stay calm. Everything. You might have gotten away with scamming that old fool Mr. Gregory, but you messed with the wrong crowd. We rich people stick together, darling. And we're coming for you. Jonas gulped and hung up the phone. Sophie, we have a problem. The next day, Jonas and Sophie met Madame Agatha at the Velvet Lounge. She sat in a corner booth like some kind of mob boss, sipping a martini with an air of self-satisfaction. Jonas nervously slid into the seat across from her, while Sophie tried to look as innocent as possible. I should ruin you both, Agatha said, smiling. It would be easy, you know. One phone call and every rich widow in Lumaville would know the truth about your little scam. Jonas was sweating bullets. I'm sure we can work something out. Agatha leaned forward, grinning like a cat that had just caught a mouse. Oh, I think we can. You see, I want in. Sophie blinked. Wait, what? Agatha laughed. I've been scamming people long before you two came along. Watching you work, it's been inspiring. So here's the deal. You cut me in on your next con, and I'll keep your secret. Think of it as a partnership. Jonas and Sophie exchanged glances. They hadn't seen this coming, but it seemed like the perfect way out. Agatha wasn't going to expose them, she wanted to join them. Jonas cleared his throat. Partnership, huh? What exactly are you thinking? Agatha smiled wickedly. I know a man who's richer than Mr. Gregory and twice as gullible. Together, we can take him for everything. With Madame Agatha now on their team, Jonas and Sophie had just upgraded from small-time scammers to full-blown con artists. Their new mark, a billionaire with a soft spot for family businesses and investment opportunities. Jonas leaned back, sipping his drink as they plotted out the next scheme. You know, he said, grinning at Sophie, we might just make a killing. Sophie smirked. Let's just make sure we don't end up getting married again. Agatha raised her glass. To the next great con. And so, the greatest sibling swindle in Lumaville history continued, this time with a little help from a very wealthy widow who had a taste for revenge and a love for scamming just as much as they did.